Are we live?
And we're live. There you go. Although, for some reason, the widget broke, so I'm going to fix it. So, let me figure that out here.
Oops.
I think that will do. Oof.
Yeah. All right. So the method of which we do things is obviously if you spend the most money, the person you want typed is going to get typed first. So realistically, this is kind of like an auction where you don't get your money back if you get outbid. So
Yeah.
we're going to be going with Charlie Kaufman from last stream because somebody donated, I think, $10 for him or something.
Yeah.
We're going to start off with that one. If you want anyone typed, feel free to send a donation in because we are ready, willing, and able. So,
Very able. How able are you, Jab?
Very, bending over backwards able.
Awesome. Cool.
So, do you want to start?
It's like actually back.
Yeah.
Get the show on the road, man.
Get this show on the road.
Red Panda's ready. Who are we talking about?
Charlie Kaufman.
Okay.
Here's a super chat from last episode.
I hope I'm spelling Kaufman correctly.
Give me a second. Nope.
We both have snacks at the table tonight, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Of course. I've got like a whole tub of chocolate.
I do that.
Ooh, looks like David Mitchell's next. 20 pounds. That's pounds, right? Or is it euros? Pounds, yeah. So after we do Charlie Kaufman, we'll be going on to... Do we have any announcements before we start?
Yes, we do. How to Social Engineer INTJs, Season 21, Episode 12, is going to be going on Patreon Early Access tonight. And it will be released to the public later during the week.
Yeah. I mean...
Brexit now.
Yeah, Brexit now. I mean, I don't even know why he made that video. It's like 5 seconds long, but, no, I'm just kidding. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right, for the record, I got to stop defaming Chase. It's not 5 seconds long; it's 7 seconds long.
Oh, okay.
All right, so let's start with this interview with Charlie Kaufman. Or at least I think it's an interview with him. Let's see what happens. Skipping a little bit.
Let's do it.
I don't know whether it makes you less or more nervous, but this is your very first television experience. You can't be any more nervous. All right. I'm going to have to talk. What is it? What is your attitude about movies? Tell me what your mindset is.
Oh boy, that's a big question. My mindset about movies,
You don't want to do what everybody else wants to do.
That sounds informative.
Right, and I was sensing a little bit of like SI Child, SI Inferior, or maybe even
a little SI. Yeah.
A little bit of SI. He's like, I couldn't be more uncomfortable, or something like that earlier.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me, and explore it in an interesting way. And I don't think about movies in general. I think about what I'm doing, and so I guess my mindset about movies is that I think that film is in a way a dead medium, and
I think that film is in a way a dead medium. Sounds informative and TI at the same time.
Yep.
In that with theater, you've got accidents that can happen. You've got performances that change, but this is a recording.
Systematic. You got this. You got this. You got this. You got this. It's systematic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sort of do is infuse my screenplays with enough information so that upon repeated viewings you can have a different experience.
That's like cliche informative.
Yep.
He writes his script in such a way that every time you watch the movie you get a different experience.
Yep.
That's informative writing right there.
Yep, subliminal. Remember, folks, anything subliminal, that is what informative is. Informative equals subliminal.
Right.
There you have it. Let's keep going.
All right, next.
And the movie goes linearly to one thing, and at the end it tells you what the movie's about. It's sort of, I try to keep it kind of like a conversation with the audience. I guess that's what I try to do.
It seems very movement.
Constantly trying to push the conversation forward.
Yeah. Yep. Kind of initiating.
Individual member of the audience, hopefully.
You saw this in our montage, but just think about this. Being John Malkovich, Human Nature, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, Adaptation, and now Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Just tell me how this came into being, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Just this idea for this film, which is intriguing.
The director, Michel Gondry, has a friend named Pierre Bismuth, who is a conceptual artist in Paris. And he and Michel were having dinner, and Pierre had...
I'm stopping you right there, eh? He's answering with a story. Informative.
Yep. And it's also very an ESI as well. And he did it in a very movement-oriented way.
Yes, exactly.
This idea that he wanted to send out cards to people that said, you've been erased from someone's memory. And then he wanted to sort of like gauge the reaction. It was an art piece. And Michel asked him if he could take that idea and do something with it. And Michel came to me, and we immediately saw the potential for a movie about a relationship.
We immediately saw a potential about a movie about a relationship. That's an abstract statement. Talking about potentials.
Right. What if...
We came up with the story, and we went around and pitched it to different studios, and we sold it, and then I wrote it.
You sold it immediately? I mean, was it pretty much first takers?
We sold it pretty quickly. I was expecting not to. My agent told me that this is really commercial, and my agent was drooling.
Agent told me it's an SI statement.
So do you think this guy's an ENTP?
Yeah, it's looking like it.
Yeah.
Definitely looking like it. Let's keep going, though. I want to see a little bit more pragmatic, a little bit more TI.
All right, we're typing Charlie Kaufman, and I think I might skip a little bit further into the video so we can get something different in terms of what he's talking about. All right.
I've got to get back to this because I want to make sure we do justice to your movie. The first scene is where Joel, Jim Carrey, and Clementine Kate Winslet meet on the train as they return from Montauk. You set it up. Anything else we ought to say about this?
I don't want to say anything because
Go ahead.
I want the audience, the way this movie is structured, and what Michelle and I were trying to do is...
The way this movie is structured, is systematic.
Right, exactly. Systematic.
Where the character of Joel is at every point.
Right.
So the audience only knows what Joel knows.
Let's roll tape. Here it is.
I have some stuff that I probably should. I'm writing.
I'm sorry. Okay.
No.
Sure. Okay.
Oh, yeah, shit. Sorry, my bad.
Logic and structure. And I as soon as I started to try to write this, the pitch was very easy. It was a 5-minute pitch, and it seemed like it would be just simple to write. And then
hella movement.
There's a reverse chronology that's going on in this movie, and there's also the problem that the main character is having each memory.
All the different possibilities of the movie. That's abstract. Keeps sharing his specific ideas. It's not very general at all.
Mm-hmm.
Continuity for the character and also for the audience was a big issue for me.
He keeps talking about the audience as FE,
mm-hmm.
and then he keeps initiating new ideas mid-sentence. That's initiating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
I had to work out those logic problems, and then
skip a little bit further.
I had to work out those logic problems. That is an SINETIFE statement. Solving a problem with TI, stating what he had to do instead of what he wanted to do. That's an SI statement.
Mm-hmm.
Who know you
mm-hmm.
and saw Nick Cage
mm-hmm. would
say, slam dunk, home run, he got it.
Well, I'd have to ask you that question now that you've met me.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, then he's got me. I mean, there's a scene.
No, but you've got lots of people who know you. I mean,
people there's one scene when he's talking to Tilda Swinton in the restaurant early in the movie where people say he's doing you, and I can't say
how
it.
he do you? What?
Well, I mean, I'll do me, and then that's how he does me. You know, he does a lot of this, and
yes.
So tell me your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, we got enough data. Charlie Kaufman is an ENTP. So, and how do we know, folks? Well, we just know because he's in these function stack NESI-FETI, which equals, he's automatically in the SFJ NTP quadra right here. This quadra right here, automatically in that quadra. And informed initiating movement means he's a starter type, so he's automatically ESFJ, ESFP, ENTP, or ENFP. And then obviously from a temperament standpoint, he's systematic and abstract, which means he's automatically an NT type. So NT type, that is starter, is equal to ENTP, and it matches up with common functions and quadras. Ergo, he is an ENTP. What's next, Mr. Jab?
All right, next is David Mitchell. I've actually got some videos already prepared.
Is that Noctails one? Is that Noctails?
Yes.
Awesome. And what's the name of the person again?
David Mitchell.
Okay, David Mitchell. Got it. Who the hell is David Mitchell?
Let's skip a little bit in where he's talking.
Brick glass for an aftershock.
Well, if you want a pint of it. This is going to get messy. Yeah, and there's Bombay mix there.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and I know you've got your beard.
Yes. What you said?
An I statement talking about what's obvious in physical reality seems informative.
Right. But the guy who sounds a bit flamboyant is the interviewer.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Well, no, some people might not want Bombay mix because it might, get stuck in their beard.
I know, yeah. It's unfortunately having a beard renders all eating disgusting.
So that's him.
Have you found
it means there's always a snack.
Oh!
Genuinely, I don't know if you've read The Twits by Roald Dahl.
Yeah.
But there's a very moving piece in that about the things that can remain for months or years in a man's beard.
Oh.
And then he can snack on at future occasions. And I'm afraid to say it's very true.
Is that SI humor right there?
I'm still trying to figure out who's who in that discussion.
Okay, so the guy who sounds a little bit flamboyant, maybe slightly homosexual, is the interviewer. And then the guy who sounds like he's a little child and has no voice is the guy being interviewed.
Okay. Is he like behind the scenes almost? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
There's no health and safety on that. No best before date on something that's congealed in your beard weeks ago.
Oh, that's disgusting. I mean, you are like the Lady Gaga of the comedy world. You're always changing your image, aren't you? What made you think of the beard? Why do you keep people guessing?
Well, as you rightly say, I'm a chameleon. I don't know. I just thought, it's something. I haven't tried mine yet. I'll give it a go. There we go. Here we go. It's going to be fine. Here we are. Excuse me, I can't do it. I can't sip it.
Can a beard reject aftershock?
Oh, my God.
All right, let's try and get some better interview because they're not talking much, are they?
No.
It's being a sitcom and it starts being a drama or worse, a documentary.
So what's your relationship with Robert Webb now then?
Well, we filmed a comedy drama for BBC Two, which about diplomats.
I thought he dumped you for that meerkat. Yeah, so you're doing this new sitcom with him?
Yeah, it's a comedy drama.
Comedy drama.
They're sort of hour-long episodes rather than half hours, and we play diplomats. I play a British ambassador to a made-up country in Asia called Tajikistan. And Rob is the deputy ambassador.
Movement, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Is there starring in it too?
Yes, she plays my wife.
You did all right, didn't you?
Yeah.
He does seem a bit behind the scenes as well.
Kind of responding.
Yeah.
You filmed it in Turkey.
We did. We filmed it partly in London and partly in Turkey. We had a very nice time.
Yeah. Did you go to Dalaman? Do you know Dalaman?
No.
Oh, that's where Heather Trott fell in love with.
He does seem a bit direct. We filmed it in
direct. Yeah, filmed in Turkey. That was a direct response.
Hmm.
EastEnders. Beautiful place, right?
Thinking is a. I want to say he's NISE, but direct responding movement finisher, which would make him an ISTP or an INTJ by default.
Yeah. I'd say there's also the possibility of INFJ. I haven't seen him be, affiliative or pragmatic.
Oh yeah, there's a chance for INFJ as well.
We're actually mainly in a city called Bursa, which is the main car manufacturing centre in Turkey. So it wasn't the most picturesque part of Turkey, but it was actually pretty picturesque nevertheless.
Now, this Sunday you're hosting a
funny chat. Downton Abbey.
Yes, I like that.
That sounds like a crap interview. Let's go next.
The Apple Store, Regent Street in London. Loads of famous people's celebrity memoirs, autobiographies every year now. So it's a kind of autumn comes round, and they're all there, dozens of them. Was this a kind of book that you had in mind yourself, that you thought, I want to write this about my life and walk around and all the different things you've got, elements you've got in it, or was it put to you by an agent and a publisher? How did it come about?
So that's him?
Well, I'd never written any sort of prose before I started doing this. I initially did a sports column in The Guardian, and then I do a column in The Observer. And I was slightly surprised to find out that I actually liked that sort of writing. The only previously, the sort of writing I'd done, other than essays at school, had been sketches written largely with Robert Webb or with other people, where you sort of sit at a computer, but with someone else there. He seems
kind of INFJ-ish a little bit there.
Yeah. I was leaning. Okay.
Yeah, I'm leaning in that direction.
To make
it's a little hard with the cadence of his accent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm waiting for
definitely movement, definitely responding, and definitely direct. Like we have finisher locked in.
I'm surprised Kana hasn't chimed in yet.
I know. Where's Kana? Where is Kana?
INFJ detector.
Yeah, let's keep going.
To the pub or watch television, and so I was surprised to find I quite like this process, and then
I was surprised I like this. Said every INFJ ever with their FI credit. My goodness.
I was surprised I liked it.
And he said in writing something about yourself, and I said, well, I don't know really whether I'd want to, because I think A, my life is quite boring, and B, I'm quite repressed, and so maybe I shouldn't, but maybe I could put
repressed. Maybe life's boring. That's an affiliative statement.
Yeah.
All those maybes is also an abstract statement.
Well, and earlier before, somebody asked him, would you want to do this? And he said, I don't know if I would want to do that. That seems a little, NISE. Yeah.
Yeah, it
like
is.
banging on about my attitude to the world. I don't like to talk about actually myself.
They don't like that. They don't like talking about myself. It's FETI. And that's an affiliative statement.
Myself, and have me pointing at other people and saying what's wrong with them.
Yes.
What's wrong with them? That's affiliative as well. It's also TIFE.
Right.
Yeah.
But it turned out I'm a lot more interested in myself than I thought.
Yeah.
And
more
so
interested in myself than I thought, which is FI critic, NI hero, interest-based statement.
And saying what's wrong with them and what's wrong with the world and what annoys me.
What's wrong with them? What annoys me? That's affiliative.
Doing unless
and that's an abstract statement as well.
Aim clean about the point of view from which that's written.
Okay, fair
point of view from which that's written, that is an abstract statement. It's also interest-based.
Do we need any more of this guy? I think we got him. A little bit more?
So Tootsie Astrid in the audience saying, quote, the self-confliction sounded so much like an INFP to me. Actually, INFJs have way more self-confliction than INFPs do. That's due to their FI critic. And FI critic causes INFJs to walk around feeling worthless most of the time or useless. And they're trying to make themselves be the most useful person in the world. And that's the state or the source of their confliction, etc. So yeah, Jab, I'm going to have to call it. David Mitchell's an INFJ. Good call on that one.
Yeah. Saw it earlier.
Good call.
Yeah.
What's next?
Jack White.
Guys, don't forget with your super chats, if someone outbids you, then you're outbid. So be aware of that, and be aware that towards the end of the show, if you're putting in a late super chat and you get outbid, well, we may not get to it. Just so you guys know.
Okay, here we go. Jimmy Fallon.
New York City loves Jack White. Come on, buddy. Great to see you. Congrats on the record. How cool is that? I am right. That is your eyes, correct?
Who's next?
Yeah. If you upload this.
Oh, you can't hear it?
Yeah. Who's talking? Who? And then who? What's the name of the person?
Oh, Jack White, and he's being interviewed by Jimmy Fallon here. You should know what Jimmy Fallon sounds like.
Yeah. All right, Jack White. Let's do it.
Girl's face.
Oh yeah, that's you.
And then you did that, and now it's just a beautiful model. So
see, genius, buddy. Hey, congrats, SNL. It's your third time.
It is. Yeah, you were there on the first with me on the first one.
I would absolutely. Yeah, man.
Back in the.
Wow, is that a bit of an SI statement? Oh, never mind. That might have been an SI statement from Jimmy Fallon.
80s.
Exactly. It was me and Eddie Murphy. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great cast. Are you doing any sketches?
You know, I sent over to Mulaney because I heard that he was an altar boy when he was a kid too, just like me. I said, you know, you should write a sketch where we're both altar boys. I don't know if he has or not. You were an altar boy too.
And I saying you should write a sketch. That's an SE statement.
Mm-hmm.
I was really into it. Were you
supposed to do the secret handshake?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, keep going.
Around.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, we're frowls. I mean, we have to. Yeah.
Frowls.
I love that. I think that was. I think we had Bill Maher on the show, and he was saying maybe that was my first experience of performing on stage was being an altar boy.
Yes, because you probably know nothing's funnier when you're not supposed to be laughing during mass. So
imagine, dude, me. Oh, I was giggling. I mean, I was laughing before we even got out. I was like, oh,
we did a joke one time, me and this other altar boy, and we were laughing so hard. He went up to get the host. Body of Christ. He put it on his tongue and he went. The priest was not happy with that. No.
We had one where I think it was a funeral, and this is a bad story, but everyone's crying.
Skip
so long, and the priest just looked over.
Friends is one of my favorite songs that you've written. It's now a children's book, and I think it's brilliant.
Blake, never thought me and you would be children's book writers.
That's pretty crazy, right? Think about it, right? That once we were young and edgy.
I'm writing a new one. It's called "Anybody Can Be President."
To acquire
from here.
Oh yeah,
you know, children don't lie about stuff, so they'll. And I like to trick them too. I'll say something like, "Yeah, I don't think I'm putting this one on the album." No, Dad, what are you talking about? You have to put this song on the album.
That's the best one on there. Yeah. How old are they now?
They're 25.
Wow. They look smaller backstage. They look small for their age. Yeah,
no, they're 10 and 11 now.
Are you touring now, or are you?
I am. We just did. I've never been in the band.
I really like that interview.
I don't like that interview either. Let's get a different one.
Yeah, I did. I'm already on the next one. I'm way ahead of you. Triple movement.
I think this is foolish or something. But we were trying to be childish on purpose. So I think we just sort of kicking around at the beginning then.
Kicking around, and you're in Detroit.
Yeah.
And you had been an upholsterer.
Yes.
And you take upholstering very seriously. I apologize because you offered to upholster the chair for the Conan show, this show.
That offer still stands.
And I didn't take you seriously. I thought you were kidding.
No, I mean it.
And then later on,
yeah.
That offer still stands. That's direct. TIFE, SENI. Looks like STP NFJ Quadra with direct. Interesting.
Find out you were serious.
I'll do it. I'll still do it.
All right.
Let's do it. Or we can do a whole new chair.
All right. Upholster my chair for me.
Or we can do a whole new chair. I'll still do it. NISE.
What about upholstering has helped you in your musical career?
The most important part about it was a moment when I was an apprentice upholsterer.
How old were you at the time?
I was about 15, I think. 15 or 16. And it was a mid-century modern couch, sort of like a Vladimir Kagan piece, I think. I know I had pink fabric with silver threads in it, and
it was temped in the back. It was 3 staples in the back, just to keep it in place while they were.
That's X-ray sensing, remembering a physical action in that way. It's also concrete.
Right.
Cleaning up, sweeping up, and then I went working on it, and I just kept staring at it. That's the minimum amount of staples to hold that piece of fabric down.
It's an SANI statement talking about minimum amount of staples.
Yeah, like the minimum amount of physical strength required to hold the fabric in place. Absolutely, I see.
Bolstered. What would be the minimum? You couldn't do it with 2. You couldn't do it on the ends. The middle would be. Right. I just thought in my brain, this is the middle. A table it can have 3 legs and still stand, but 2, it'll fall. So that sort of image has been burned into my brain. I think about that probably once a week, that image of those 3 staples, and it's affected everything. I force myself to do anything that I create, artistically, music-wise, whatever it is. I force it through the funnel of that idea, and
funnel of that idea. TI statement.
Mm-hmm.
3 lines or 3 concepts in a song, or I wrap it around storytelling and melody and rhythm. The White Stripes, the whole band was based on
concrete.
It's really about simplicity and not. It's almost like a.
Skip a little ahead.
I'm still seeing direct jab, like all the way through.
Yeah, I see him
Not
being
seeing
direct.
anything informative here at all.
Yeah, I would agree.
They're in control.
They have, but they don't know that. They have no idea that you're getting anything.
I hand out
them.
pamphlets before every show.
I've gotten those pamphlets. Please enjoy me.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
It's really the saddest pamphlet I've ever read before a rock show.
But I'll tell you, I was reading the Steve Martin biography, the autobiography, and I think in the foreword he says, on stage when I was a stand-up comedian, there was no time for enjoyment. There's no time to enjoy myself. I'm too busy thinking about the next move. And I think that's exactly how I feel all the time. I never on stage sit and I'm like, yes, this is great. And I feel the whole song for the whole time. I'm loving this. And the minute I pass 3 seconds of that feeling, it just starts to dissipate and disappear from me. I have to shake it off and push forward and move forward. Even if the song is fraught with mistakes or problems, if I know in my brain I'm pushing forward and not sitting there laughing, having a blast, I know I'm getting somewhere, somehow, somewhere.
Well, there's
that was a very movement. Talking about his process of getting through, and it's the same process every single time.
That's also systematic.
Yeah, you could make that argument, but I'm not entirely sure. He seems, I don't know, direct from movement, concrete. He seems very ISTP-ish. Does he look ISTP-ish with how he's explaining things? Kind of seems like it to me.
He looks INFJ-ish. He looks like looks like Edward Scissorhands.
Edward Scissorhands. Okay.
Yeah. Let's skip a little bit further in.
It's real. So everyone's trying to get back to what they think is the real roots music.
What music is your favorite music? What type, what genre, or kind of?
You know what? It's funny because I
always imagine that
music. That's a TIFE statement.
Rockabilly was what grabbed me completely. I don't come from a musical family at all, and I wasn't a particularly. I was really interested in music, but resisted anyone trying to teach me anything. And then I was in college, and I'm going to this Ivy League college, and it hit me. Sun Session, Elvis Presley got re-released, and then I started listening to Jerry Lee Lewis. I got the poster in my room in college was the Jerry Lee Lewis on the flatbed from High School Confidential.
Let's skip this. We didn't need to hear Conan talking.
Good world.
Yeah, the interviewer's talking.
Around you, your friends and family see of how much that affects you, what people thought of that, and how all you can do is to let it push you forward and just take everything even keel. That was bad, that was good, that was bad, that was good.
Well, okay, so here's a trap.
That's a pragmatic statement. It's not really about the people so much. It's not really affiliative. It's just, okay, this is what we're doing, essentially.
Had a lot of critical acclaim.
Yeah,
you are
at times.
Well, I would say fairly consistently. I mean, you probably can search out the negative because that's the. But from my point of view, you, more than most everybody I know in your field, has had a lot of musical, has had a great deal of critical acclaim, and then the danger becomes, I like it.
Yeah.
I like people liking me.
Sure,
and we've all been there. It's really nice to be liked, and then when you do something that isn't so popular,
know what's happening, and they're completely involved.
Very
and
responding, just how he's like, yeah. You can kind of see that kind of made him a little uncomfortable a little bit, like a low FE, you know, talking about other people liking him. So it's an FETI statement. So SF, STP, NFJ. Let's keep going a little bit, but he asked a concrete question earlier. You know, okay, well, what's your favorite genre? You know, that, like, what is for you, basically. It's still concrete. I haven't seen any abstraction at all in this conversation.
Right.
So,
TV show now making this live record. So this is all just from a place I wanted to get my gear. So it was like letting things naturally happen, you know.
This feels like
I wanted it, and
I naturally happen, and yeah, that's what I wanted. It's NISE. So
the story of your whole process, because to go way back to
the caveman days,
when you discovered fire with your friend Og.
Good guy.
Yeah, really good guy. Really pity that you had to crush his skull with a handmade stone tool. No, what
that's very SENI. That's also very pragmatic, saying that that's what the interviewee actually did previously. So yeah,
they lose the ability or the desire to push themselves over and over and over and over again, and that's the only thing you can really do. You can get lucky. You could have some lucky break or something, and it catapults you to some level, and then you have.
Okay, this is seeming a bit abstract.
Some decisions to make up there, but in the natural way of things, if you basically have moments where you can stop and say, like we said about McHale and Larry Bird, like, you know, hey, I have a life, man. I mean, you can say that at any moment. Say,
no, that's still concrete. Like no. Because he's talking about more so the past or what has occurred instead of like what will.
But, you know, I'm not going to spend 24 hours a day thinking about it. But, you know.
It's like 24-hour days thinking about it's another SE statement.
Right.
They're done. Nobody feels like they're done. Nobody, I mean, it's like a mixture of...
You never arrive. I don't think you ever arrive.
You never arrive. And also, I don't know, like I wanted to bring up, I don't know, anger, or sometimes people say to me, like, you seem like I can get cranky, I can get angry. And I say, yeah, I just think that's part of this spice that keeps me going.
Yeah.
If I was completely contented, that would be it. But anger,
one-word responses.
Anger and frustration seems to be necessary components. I think the minute
are things that are in the violent realm of emotions, that they're all completely 100% bad and should be avoided at all costs. I don't think that's true at all. I mean, that those emotions are very much relevant in, say, blues music. They're very much relevant in painting and rock and roll, punk rock, all of that. I mean, those are, if they had ignored those emotions and not thought about them and
expressed. Anyway, bottom line is, folks, Jack White is an ISTP. There you go.
Yeah.
SENI, FETI, which means he's STP, NFJ Quadra, right there. And then direct responding movement, he's a finisher. And then pragmatic concrete. So by process elimination, Jack White is an ISTP. There you have it, folks.
All right. Who are we doing next? I think the person we're doing next is... So we just did Jack White, right?
Yep.
Brian Coxton. What a good name. All right, let's get on Joe Rogan. Let's go back to our roots. Remember our first few typings were done on Joe Rogan?
Yep.
When you look up at the Milky Way, you see all these stars all over the place. So if you're saying flat, like how much height and what are you saying?
So
in terms of like the way to measure it?
The best way to think about it is not to think of 3 dimensions of space, because then we can't picture it.
Okay.
But you can think of 2, like this tabletop, and that's all right. We'll just forget the other one for now. And so you know what flat is on this table. I mean, you could define it. So you could say, for example, that if I draw a triangle on the top of the table, then all the angles add up to 180 degrees. So that actually defines flat. If you did that on the surface of the Earth with a big triangle, then the angles wouldn't add up to 180 degrees. Or you could draw a circle and say, what's pi? So pi is the ratio of the circumference of a circle to its diameter. That's only true on a flat surface. It's different if the surface is curved. So you can...
So this just...
Not with light. No.
This stuff just makes him seem concrete so far.
Yeah, so far.
Let's skip a little bit further in when they're not talking about flat Earth.
And what is true about Mars? It's interesting, actually, because we know something about quite a lot about the history of Mars. And it's certainly clear that there was water, almost certainly oceans, rivers. So, and that water is almost certainly still there. So I would say certainly still there.
Well, they have found large quantities of ice now, right?
Yeah, so there's certainly ice. There may even be pockets of liquid water below the surface somewhere. So couple that with all the minerals and the resources that we know are there, and you have everything you need. So that's the thing.
We know we're there. That's TIFE statement.
Mm-hmm. Relative to everywhere else other than the Earth. You can't go to Venus.
Systematic.
Mm-hmm.
It melts. It's, what is it, 400 and something degrees and 90 atmospheric pressure.
Yeah.
So it's movement.
So Mars is quite nice.
Mm-hmm.
Direct.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't go there. I agree with you.
What's it's not the gravity of Mars in relationship to the Earth?
It's what is it, about a third, I think.
Third.
Right, yeah, something like that.
So it would still have a significant weakening effect. Like if you went to Mars and then somehow or another in the future they were able to get back to Earth,
yeah,
your body would have a real problem with that, right?
It would, but there is still gravity. It's a bit more than a third. I can't quite remember, but it's something like that. But yeah, so there's still gravity.
Right.
So there's gravity. There's some protection from you'd probably want to live in the caves actually, or something like that. Because there's no magnetic field there, so it's quite a high radiation environment, but not too bad. It's further from the sun than we are. It's not too. There are places on Mars. There's a very deep crater called Hellas, which is a big impact basin, and at the bottom, it's so.
Right. That's a concrete statement.
Given the building block, the toolkit, the laws of nature, and the elements and so on that we have.
Laws of nature, the elements, it's a T statement.
Life forms on our planet, but if we found anything that's remotely similar to what we have here on Earth on another planet, it would be such an incredible discovery. Like if we found a frog on the moon. I mean, the world would stop, right?
I'd be very surprised if we found a frog on the moon.
But I mean, if we found anything anywhere,
I'd be very surprised. SINE statement.
Well,
right.
Insect on Mars.
Well, this is, I mean, as I say, it'd be micro. I think it'd be single-celled things. Remember, I mean, you mentioned the Cambrian explosion. So that is that what we do know about Earth is that although life began,
Cambrian explosion is any statement.
Years ago, it wasn't until around 600 million years ago or so that,
or
maybe
spy movement
most.
Wasn't until 600 million years ago as a TE statement, reference point, still following the system, systematic.
Complex multicellular organisms at all. So for something like 3 billion years, it was single-celled alone. And that's one of the reasons why I would guess, if I had to guess, I would say that microbes would be common.
If I had to guess, is an SINE statement.
Mars, but complex life, multicellular life, insects, plants, intelligence, I would guess would be very rare because it took so long on Earth to get there.
It's very rare, NESI.
3 billion years of slime. Was that was it.
What happened?
I would go as far as to say it is ruled out by experiment, or at least it is extremely subtle, and you would have to jump through
ruled out by experiments. That's systematic, isn't it?
It is.
A lot of hoops to come up with a theory of some stuff that we wouldn't have seen when we've observed how matter interacts, that is present in our bodies. And presumably, if you believe in the soul, you want it to exist outside. When you die, you still want the thing to be there, and you might believe in ghosts and things like that. I mean, look at a ghost. I mean, it's it is something that carries the imprint of you, presumably. It looks like you, right? So that means that it interacts strongly with the...
Also systematic. That's also NESI. So he's STJ NFP, who's concrete, which means he's an ESTJ or an ISTJ. He's obviously movement and direct because we know his movement. Therefore, we automatically know Brian Cox is an ISTJ based on the evidence that we have.
Wow.
Yep.
ISTJ. Do we have any other super chats?
ISTJ. Awesome.
All right. So, do we have any more super chats, or you're gonna have to come up with one?
We can come up with one.
Who do you want to do? Fictional, non-fictional?
A non-fictional.
All right.
We can do.
Could do PewDiePie, isn't he?
You want to do Malcolm X?
Malcolm X. All right.
Minister Malcolm, when you broke with Elijah Muhammad back in March, you said it was because the black Muslims were too narrowly sectarian and inhibited, and because Elijah Muhammad had become blindly jealous of you and the personal following you had gathered.
That I said the first part, but the last part, I didn't say that Elijah Muhammad himself had become blindly jealous. I mentioned that it was his family and the officials in Chicago. Everything that I said always was designed and to protect Mr. Muhammad himself, primarily because the image that he had created was the image that enabled his followers to remain strong in faith and things of that sort. And I didn't want to see any adverse effect or negative result develop in the faith of all of his followers. But actually, despite the fact that I tried to protect the Muslim movement, if you'll notice, they use their newspaper to slander me and to label me as a hypocrite and as a rebel. And Mr. Muhammad himself said that I defected. Well, in reality, I never even left the Muslim movement. They put me out. And they put me out because of what I knew. What I knew was told to me by Mr.
What I knew was a TIFE statement.
Mr. Muhammad's son,
Very movement. Malcolm X's movement.
They put me out and they put him out.
Well, now, first of all, let's find out what it is that Wallace Muhammad...
person was never brought forth during this court session. It was concluded by all of Mr. Muhammad's followers that it was a non-Muslim who was the other party. Well, we grew so rapidly until that in 1957 or 58, the secretarial staff was expanded to, I think, 8 teenage sisters. In 1959, 6 of them disappeared. 2 of them reappeared in Philadelphia about 2 or 3 months later, and they were all right. The other 4 reappeared in 1960. All 4 of them had babies. All 4 of them had become involved with someone and become pregnant and had these children. So it was, from what I now know, when the 4 of them got back to Chicago and began to compare notes, they found that the same man had told all of them the same story and had made all of them pregnant. That the same man was the father of all 4 of their children and had also been the father of the children brought forth by the 2 secretaries who preceded them. So this story was kept among these sisters until 1962. 2 of them rebelled against the person who was responsible and began to tell the story all over the city of Chicago. It caused many of the Muslims in the Chicago mosque to leave and go back out in the street. They knew it. And I knew nothing about it until 1963 when Mr. Muhammad's son, who had been in prison, came out, and he had been a minister, and he was very religious and spiritual. And when he began to hear these rumors around Chicago, he went to one of the sisters, and the sister admitted to him that the rumor was true. And it was he who first told me about it. And when he told me about it, I wrote to Mr. Muhammad.
I mean, he's super initiating, super movement.
Yeah.
Like initiating new point, initiating new point, initiating new point. It's just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Told him about it. 2 of them.
Let's see if we can get a different story.
Constantly informing. Yeah, one different story.
Right.
Los Angeles. Again, Elijah Muhammad gave no signal to anybody to come to the defense of those brothers. Never have the Muslims anywhere in the country gotten any kind of instruction from the national office or headquarters on how to defend themselves when they are attacked by outsiders. The only times the Muslims have ever been given any instructions to commit violence is when that violence is directed against a fellow Muslim. His followers are violent against Negroes.
Against Negroes?
Yes, his followers will go out and attack another Negro, like they will attack me, or they will brutalize a fellow Muslim who breaks the law. But you don't find those same followers going out and becoming involved in the Negro struggle in any way whatsoever.
You got another interview with a different topic?
Yeah. Malcolm X on liberals.
Toward Negroes, a fox acts friendly toward the lamb, and usually the fox is the one who ends up with the lamb chop on his plate. The wolf doesn't act friendly, and therefore the wolf has more difficulty
right
in getting the lamb chopped in his plate.
I'd like to point out, though, that
I say that because it is usually if you study the structure of the Negro community, economically, politically, civically, psychologically, and otherwise, it's controlled by the white liberal, who usually poses as the friend of the Negro, who actually differs from the white conservative in the same way that the fox differs from the wolf.
It would be great if Bill Clinton was present for this interview.
Really?
Same. Their motives are the same. It's only their mannerisms and methods that differ.
I would agree that no doubt there have been a large number of whites who have posed as liberals and as friends of the Negro and who have time and again betrayed the Negro. On the other hand, I think one could point to a large number of whites who have struggled for civil rights, for equality, and have got little.
That was initiating.
Other than quite a few bruises.
Give me an example.
Well, the large number of white students who have gone into the South, for example, working for SNCC and other organizations.
Not working for
That's
SNCC.
TIFE, because he didn't exactly cite his source on that.
Political
machines
who benefit by the voting efforts of the Negro.
Okay, I'll be more specific. I would cite Herbert Hill, for example, as a kind of person who has championed Negro job rights, for example, in New York City and elsewhere. He has fought the political.
Champion that, FE.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Personally, was when they were picketing to stop the working on the Harlem Hospital in Harlem. Negroes for 10 years had to fight the city to get an annex built on the Harlem Hospital. Because in Harlem, we need a hospital more so than anything else. Our people are sick. Plus, we do a lot of cutting and shooting of each other, though we profess to be nonviolent. And Herbert Hill brought his forces out and stopped the working on that site. This is the first time I ever saw it. Then when work was brought to a halt on a hospital in Harlem, the same Negroes tried to stop the work at the downstate medical center in Brooklyn, which is predominantly white. They were out there for 3 months during the summer, couldn't stop anything. And I never saw Herbert Hill out there one time. Now, whenever it takes a stoppage of something that's going to affect the white man, you find the white liberal absent. But when it involves something that primarily will affect the best interests of black people, and black people only, then that white liberal is present. Herbert Hill is the labor secretary for the NAACP. And if he was interested in black people, he would prepare a black man with the type of knowledge and understanding of the labor troubles involving black people that would enable a black man to sit in the same position.
Get back to Malcolm X. Tell the guy to stop talking.
Right.
I'm suspicious of whites who join Negroes and always have to be in the lead, who always have to be the head, who always have to be at the top in Negro organizations. Those whites who really have the interest of blacks at heart, let them give some advice to some Negroes and stand on the sideline. But don't join the organization and then get at the head of it and pose as a friend of Negroes.
Well, I
mean, he that entire answer did seem informative in the sense that it basically seemed like a story of, a white person coming into a black organization and then taking it over and then pretending to be a friend of black people.
Yeah.
Like, it just...
The problem is, I'm having a hard time differentiating between affiliative and pragmatic because he's just going on these tirades, and also concrete versus abstract. Like, because he's speaking a little bit of metaphors, which I could argue is abstract, but then he's also being very concrete as well. He's obviously SFJ, NTP, Quadra for sure. It's just which one is he? Is he an like I can't tell. Is he an ESFJ or an ENTP? Basically, that's kind of where I'm coming out with this. Doesn't seem like, I don't know. I just need to see more. You got another interview?
Yes.
I want to verify it. I mean, like, I've always maintained that he's an ENTP, but I want to verify it from affiliative, pragmatic, concrete, abstract. I mean, it's obviously systematic. He's following systems in almost single thing he says. There's always a process there, but pragmatic, affiliative, concrete, abstract, not entirely sure.
What is your real name?
Malcolm X.
Is that your legal name?
As far as I'm concerned, it's my legal name.
Have you been to court to establish the
I didn't have to go to court to be called Murphy or Jones or Smith. Excuse me for answering you this way.
That's
if
all right.
a Chinese person were to say his name was Patrick Murphy, you would look at him like he's insane.
Pragmatic.
It's an Irish name.
Wow. Yeah.
That's very pragmatic.
Name or the name that has a Caucasian or white background, and a yellow person. Chinese is a yellow man, and he has nothing to do or no connection whatsoever with the name Murphy. And if it doesn't look proper for a person who is yellow or Chinese to be walking around named Murphy or Jones or Johnson or Bunch, I think it would be just as improper for a black person or the so-called Negro in this country, as we're taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, to walk around with these names. And therefore, he teaches us that during slavery, the same slave master who owned us put his last name on us to denote that we were his property. So that when you see a Negro today who's named Johnson, if you go back in his history, you'll find that he was once, his grandfather was owned by a white man who was named Johnson. His name is Bunch. His grandfather was owned by a white man that was named Bunch.
Yeah, I get your point. This guy's an ENTP. It's obvious. Yeah, he's an ENTP. So there you go, folks.
The thing I said about informative types answering with stories, he basically just answered it with the story of how a black person, if an Asian person was named this, you wouldn't be upset, and you see the pragmatism in that as well. And then he talks about the last name in black families, how it relates to slavery, and he talks about the story of a black person being a slave. It's like, this is all informative.
So, like, you can look at the cadence and the activity and the bodily movements of Malcolm X when he gives his speeches, and then compare that to Adolf Hitler. Just saying. Anyway, what's next?
We're approaching the hour mark, by the way. We've got Anthony Jeselnik for $5 and Jeremy Corbyn for £3. Anthony Jeselnik. Let's see. All right, let's try this one.
Well, our next guest has no boundaries when it comes to getting a laugh. He's the Dark Prince of comedy. His wicked one-liners giving like, oh man, this could be bad for me.
I was scared when he became president, but not because of me roasting him. It was more like, this person should not be in charge of anything. It's going to be bad.
Anthony, it's pretty divisive stuff. Like, you get a lot of hate online. Does it ever affect you?
It builds me up. If you're, as an artist, if you're not upsetting someone, then you're not doing your job right.
That's
So
T-I-F-E right there. If you're not upsetting someone, you're doing your job right.
Right.
More or less,
But does it, because I love to say that when people abuse me online, I love to say that I'm fine with it and I didn't want their acceptance anyway. But on a little level, it does still
a lot of shower cries for Tommy.
Yeah, there's a lot of shower cries. Yeah. Does it at all get to you?
I assume that I'm a better comedian than you. So
that is a very safe assumption.
Wow. Shots fired.
Yeah, so you're probably getting more hate than I do, but I just think it's important to be hated by the right people. And no one, like if someone says I like you, but that one joke I didn't care for, that would hurt my feelings. But if someone's like I hate you, then I would say great, across the board.
Right.
Still pragmatic.
I can just write you off.
I'm going to be sending you some more hate mail after.
Anthony, we asked the promoters of your show, you know, whether there was any moments from the show you could bring and tell us about tonight. They said that basically nothing is appropriate for our time slot. So is coming on a sort of family-friendly entertainment show in prime time your worst kind of nightmare?
No more super chats, guys. No more super chats. Just so you guys know, like none. And PewDiePie is going to be saved for the opening of the next episode. We're not going to be doing PewDiePie tonight. So.
This is not fun. Like, I just never know what to do or what to say. I can't really tell any of my jokes. The one joke you guys showed, I think, got by the PG thing, but they keep telling me PG, Anthony. It's PG. I'll be fine, but I would be worried about Hanson later.
So you're finding now when you do a new show, you turn up somewhere, there is this sort of expectation about the bar you're going to hit with kind of rudeness.
Yeah, I mean, people know what they're coming to see. It's like you go to see a horror movie. If you go to see a romantic comedy and someone gets killed halfway through, you're really freaked out.
Yeah.
But if you go to see a horror film, you're expecting that. So when people come to see me, they're like, how is he going to do it and surprise us? That's fun. I mean, I wish I could tell you what people would see here in Australia, but I couldn't even name the topic. I couldn't get away with it.
This is certainly not
what
my
people
opinion.
would see in Australia. It's an SE&I statement.
Australians view Americans as having this.
I can't wait to hear what you're going to say.
This kind of image of being arrogant and kind of like jerks, right? Do you think you help or hurt that image?
Wait, the comedians are arrogant jerks?
No, just Americans in general.
Oh, Americans. I solidify that image. Yeah.
This is, in fact, your second trip to Australia. So
A kangaroo killed my father when I was a child. So I'm kind of mad the whole time I'm here. This brings back a lot of memories, and it's...
Okay, I don't think we're going to get much more out of that interview. Yo.
Yeah.
What do you think so far, Chris?
Huh?
What do you think so far?
I don't know. I need more. Need more.
Here we go. This looks like Larry King.
Same movement, and he's pragmatic. Oh, Larry King. That's low key. Larry King bores people, so maybe he'll be bored and slow down a little bit.
Established himself as a comedic powerhouse. Anthony has also created and starred in his own Comedy Central series, The Jeselnik Offensive, and he's performed stand-up on Kimmel, Conan, Fallon, and has released two critical
offensive is SE&I.
2010's Shakespeare and 2013's Caligula, one of the great guys in history. And now Anthony will serve as the newly minted host for NBC's Last Comic Standing. It debuts July 27th. Roast Together.
Yes, I sat next to you on the Donald Trump
What
roast.
got you into doing roasts?
I got into comedy to do roasts. Roasts were the funniest thing in the world to me because you could be so mean. It was like a license to be mean and be unexpected. It was just, I think, the hardest way.
License to be mean is like every SE user's dream.
One of the trouble with roasts, though, is I'm the dean of the Friars Club in New York, which invented roasts.
Yeah.
Is that once you do the basic joke of the guy's hair or something, then you need others. So you got to kid other people there.
Of course, yeah.
You
But
can't
that's
just keep
the
kidding
challenge.
the host, because if you go fifth,
Yeah.
and you plan 7 jokes and they've done 8.
Tell Larry to be quiet.
Skip a little bit in.
You've been described as.
Oh my God, he's still talking.
An NPR in joke.
A joke.
Everything on the table.
Everything is on the table. And in fact, if I thought of a joke, if I thought of a topic that like, this is too much, this is too dark, this is too upsetting, then I would make it my like life's mission to find a joke about it. I would say if it shouldn't be joked about, I've got at least 2 jokes about that. But my goal is to make you laugh at it. Like, I'm trying to do a good thing. I don't want to upset anyone. I do. But because you can't, if you're performing for 100 people, someone's going to be upset. but
Something
I'm trying to
about-
make someone laugh.
Isn't there something about
Someone's
time?
going to be upset. That's pragmatic.
Sure. I doubted you could have done it in 1865.
I would have been the first one. I would have been because there's a tension
Honestly,
there.
this is like really concrete.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds ESTP-ish.
You reckon he's an ESTP? Actually, yeah. Now that you do say that, I do see a lot of similarities between him and someone else. Like the enthusiastic, bored voice he makes just so badly reminds me of that certain someone we know.
A certain someone, indeed.
Someone laughed at tragedy. It's the most amazing laugh.
You can't make a laugh out of 9/11.
It is almost impossible.
9/11 impossible.
9/11
impossible.
Louis had a joke maybe a week after 9/11.
Louis
That's one of the greatest jokes.
What was his 9/11 joke?
He said, "You can tell how bad a person you are, how good a person you are, by how long you wait."
That's funny.
That's funny, and it's not even really talking about 9/11. It's there are ways to do it, but it's very difficult. And if you miss, you are going to hear about it. You're going to get in trouble.
If you miss, you're going to hear about it. You're going to get in trouble. Yep.
I find it funny he talks about missing when talking about masturbating.
Right.
It's like, get your aim on point, mate. All right, let's skip a little bit ahead.
Master level, So and that makes it tough. So you have
Who inspired you? Was Rickles one of your?
Rickles, of course. Loved Rickles. Loved just how mean he could be, and watching Johnny Carson.
That's concrete. He's
let you
mellowed down. He seems control there.
Yeah.
And he keeps initiating new ideas, and he's still
Mhm.
direct.
Mhm.
So we got ourselves a structure type now, and he seemed cognitive transition before to go all movement. With his INFJ subconscious in the last interview, it would seem still very SE.
Mhm.
Yeah,
let's keep going.
Even though he would never say just joke,
right?
Which I loved. He was big. Stephen Wright was big for me. I love that dry, just how did he think of it one-liner. Mitch Hedberg, a guy named Jack Handy, write deep thoughts for SNL. I love that guy.
Oh,
They were very SE, yeah.
Your stand-up is like, I've never seen your stand-up.
It's very dark. It's just like my roasting. It's very dark, very short, kind of clever jokes where you don't want to laugh at the subject, but I make you. I find it clever enough.
That's concrete.
Now you're going to tour with Amy Schumer.
You will be on the same tour. We're doing Oddball Fest this
What
late,
is
late summer
Oddball
through fall.
Fest?
It's a big festival where they go to arenas. So it'll be like 10 comics. Instead of me going and doing an hour, I do 20 minutes long with a bunch
That was
of
initiating.
All
All right, folks. Anthony Jeselnik is an ESTP. There you go.
ESTP.
All right, what's next? There should be one more.
There's a £3 one, Jeremy Corbyn, and then there's $10 on PewDiePie.
PewDiePie is being saved for next week.
All right, Jeremy Corbyn, it is. Isn't he that politician?
I have no idea.
Jeremy Corbyn interview.
Jeremy Corbyn, I just want to start by reading something out to you, words that you may be familiar with. The Labour Party has been my life, but I've had to be honest, and the truth is that I've become ashamed of the Labour Party under Jeremy Corbyn. He spent his entire career supporting extremists, in some cases including terrorists and anti-Semites. These are the words of Ian Austin, who until today was a Labour MP. How does that make you feel?
I'm very sorry that Ian's resigned from the Labour Party, and I'm very sorry he uses language like that. He and I have known each other a very long time. We've both been in Parliament together. I'm not saying we've always agreed on Iraq War or many other issues.
Are they talking about Jeremy Corbyn? It's not actually Jeremy Corbyn? Is that what's going on?
No, that is Jeremy Corbyn.
Oh, he's talking. Okay.
I've spent my life on human rights, on peace, and trying to bring people together. And that is how I try to lead the Labour
Does it worry you a little bit that perhaps members of the public might hear statements like that, and statements that he's also made saying that I always tell the truth, I could never ask local people to make Jeremy Corbyn Prime Minister because he and John McDonnell, your Shadow Chancellor, cannot be trusted? Does it worry you at all that the public might think, this man has known Jeremy Corbyn for a long time, maybe I should listen to him?
Well, lots of other people have known me for even longer and would have a very different view than Ian Austin. Ian Austin was elected as a Labour in 2017 on exactly the same manifesto as I was elected. For the many,
direct.
That manifesto promised to do everything we could to end austerity, to redistribute power and wealth in our society, to end the grotesque inequalities that are in Britain. That is the core value of the Labour Party. And I'm sure Ian, underneath it, actually shares that core value.
Chris Williamson, close ally of yours, says that he thinks that Ian Austin, talk about him being elected under the Labour manifesto, which you stood on as well, says that he was elected under the election under false pretenses. Do you think he's got a point?
Let's move on from this. Ian was elected, I was elected, Chris was elected, all on the same manifesto. Ian has decided, sadly, to leave the Labour Party. I'm sorry.
Because it's not just Mr. Austin, though, is it, Mr. Corbyn? Because I mean, if we just look through some of the statements just this week,
Seems
from the
affiliative.
party.
Again, he's an NFJ.
Or an STJ.
Hmm.
Well, actually, it's interesting. Just on that point, back in 2011, you tweeted that in our electoral system, you vote for an MP rather than the party or leader. So what's changed since then? You weren't calling for.
Well, you do vote for an MP in your constituency, but that MP stands on a manifesto which we put forward.
Constantly talking about manifesto. Very
that seemed a bit
affiliative.
concrete.
Yep.
That's
also
a bit
concrete.
Mm.
Seems systematic as well. This guy's an SJ. Like, he's straight up an SJ.
Right.
10 that you vote for an MP, then there's no need to have a by-election, is there, really?
You do vote for an MP, but that MP puts forward a proposal,
He
a
initiated
program.
that was initiating.
Vote accordingly.
Your MPs, many of whom are now saying there needs to be changes from the leadership. You know, Jess Phillips, for example, still for the moment at least in the Labour Party.
Well, look, you keep saying this. Hang on a minute. There's a lot of Labour MPs and there's 500,000 Labour Party members. Those party members keep the party going, raise the funds, knock on doors, deliver the leaflets. They're people whose voice must be heard as well. And you haven't quoted.
You know as well as
quoted any.
Concrete.
Mm-hmm.
He also initiated, because he cut that guy off, taking control of the conversation. That's NESI when he's like, oh, hold on a minute.
Right.
You know, because it's low SE. It's kind of like an SE critic or SE nemesis. You know, you can't do that.
Right.
And then he's listing all those people out as TEFI.
Interesting.
They're not the only
And they're
show
saying
in
that
town.
no, but they're saying that you're a threat to national security. So it's not surprising if people listen. Jess Phillips, still a Labour MP, says at the moment, if you're not in his gang, it feels as if you have no role in the party. Do you think that looking back, maybe is some of this your fault? Is any of this your fault? That you could have perhaps behaved better.
They made a rational decision to resign
They
from the party.
made a rational decision, TEFI. Direct.
I spend a great deal of time talking to a lot of people in the party, many of whom offer me advice. Some of it's very
Many of them
detailed.
offer me advice, that's TE, and that's affiliative.
Do you have any regrets at all?
Regrets?
Regrets about your personal conduct?
I have
Your
done
relation-
everything I
with your
can
MP.
since I became leader of this party to expand the membership, to make sure we're a campaigning party, to get a community organising unit going so we're more active and present.
That is
Yeah, this is
affiliative,
all
that's
concrete.
NESI, very concrete.
It's like concrete. It's like we're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do that. It's like
STJ,
there's no abstract about it.
NFP, yeah, direct
There's no what-
initiating control. So he's an ESTJ. There you go. Jeremy Corbyn's an ESTJ.
Wow, is that everyone for tonight?
That is everyone for tonight.
Ooh, this is how we do it.
Yeah, a little low key tonight, a little lacking on the energy side, but doing pretty good at least. So, folks, don't forget How to Social Engineer INTJs will be released tonight on Patreon Early Access. This lecture, the 6th Golden Pair, will also be released very soon as well. Anything else coming down the pipe, Jab, that you're aware of?
We might have some articles coming out soon.
Oh yeah, we do have some articles coming out, and don't forget Q&A, guys. 9:00 Eastern time, Thursday night as well.
Right, are we going to be doing a fictional typing episode again? Are we bringing that back?
Yes, we're going to be doing a fictional typing episode. I believe it'll probably be on Saturday, if I remember correctly. We'll see how that is.
Are we going to tell them the theme?
Huh?
Are we going to tell them the theme?
The theme, huh?
Yeah, there's a theme. Do you know the theme?
No, I don't.
Oh, so it has... Okay, well, let me just put it this way. The fictional typing episode this Saturday will have absolutely nothing to do with a TV show that will be coming out next week.
Yeah, and nothing to do with it.
Nothing whatsoever.
Not remotely. Nope. Not remotely. Anything.
Yeah, like if there's like a TV show about dragons coming out next week, nothing to do with that.
Nothing to do with that. Nope.
Nothing.
Nope. Nothing. All right, folks. It's good to see you all. I been a little bit sick and I almost got in a really bad car wreck yesterday. I was driving on a road, a highway, and I hydroplaned, slipped, lost control, and then spin the car like this, and then spin it again, and then ended up on the other side of the road, facing the direction of the lane that I was going in. So I was like basically opposite facing, the semi truck. And I did not get in a head-on collision. I did not have any damage to myself or my vehicle at all. Basically, I seriously got out of it safely somehow by some miracle. So I'm very thankful that I'm still alive for that. Gave me a bit of a fright. The adrenaline did not come down for a little bit after that. So it's kind of an interesting day yesterday on my way home, taking my children back to their mother's place. So fun day. And so yeah. Anyway, it's good to see you folks again. We'll be back Thursday night. And otherwise, have a good night.
Good night, Justin Carner.